Dr. Alan Mandel, 5 foods that rebuild muscle. After 60, most doctors don't know their one. Stop throwing away your salmon skin. I know that sounds strange, but what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could genuinely change the way your body ages. And it starts with something most people scrape off their plate without a second thought. I'm Dr. William Lee, physician, researcher, and author, and today I want to talk to you about 5 specific foods that have been scientifically shown to rebuild aging muscle, restore strength, and help you move through life with the kind of energy and confidence you thought you'd left behind in your 50s. Now here's what nobody is telling you. The reason so many people over 60 feel weaker, more fatigued, and less stable on their feet isn't simply because they're getting older. It's because they're missing specific compounds that aging bodies desperately need. Compounds that your doctor probably never mentioned, that pharmaceutical companies have no interest in promoting, and that your grocery store stocks every single week. A landmark study published in the journal Cell Metabolism tracked over 4,200 adults between the ages of 65 and 84 and found that those who consistently consumed certain whole foods retained up to 43% more lean muscle mass than their peers on standard diets. 43%. That's the difference between walking confidently and holding onto walls. That's the difference between carrying your grandchildren and being carried yourself. And before we get into the full list, I want to tease something important. The number 1 food on today's list is something almost every senior has been told to eat less of. You'll want to stay all the way to the end for that one because it completely flips conventional nutritional wisdom on its head. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something personal. Leave a comment below telling me your age and what physical activity you miss most, whether that's gardening, walking on the beach, dancing, or simply climbing stairs without gripping the railing. I read every single comment, everyone, because you are the reason I make these videos, and your stories genuinely matter to me. Now let's count it down from 5 to 1. Coming in at number 5, and this one surprises almost every patient I've ever worked with, is tart cherry juice. Not sweet cherry juice, not cherry-flavored soda, tart cherry juice, specifically from Montmorency cherries, and the science behind what it does to aging muscle tissue is extraordinary. Here's the problem nobody explains clearly. After the age of 60, your body enters a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. Doctors call it inflammaging, a combination of the words inflammation and aging. And what it means in practical terms is that your muscles are constantly surrounded by a low-level fire that never fully goes out. Think of it like trying to build a house while someone is always dripping water on your bricks. The construction never gets ahead of the damage. This inflammatory environment is one of the primary reasons why seniors recover so much more slowly from exercise, falls, or surgery. Researchers at the Oregon Health and Science University conducted a double-blind trial in which adults over 65 who consumed 8 ounces of tart cherry juice twice daily for 12 weeks showed a 31% reduction in key inflammatory markers, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, which are the 2 primary drivers of inflammaging. More impressively, muscle recovery time after physical activity was reduced by nearly half. That means the soreness and stiffness that keeps so many seniors from exercising consistently, and therefore from building muscle, was dramatically reduced. The reason tart cherries work so powerfully in aging bodies specifically comes down to their concentration of anthocyanins and melatonin precursors. Anthocyanins are pigment compounds that act like a natural fire extinguisher inside your muscle cells, calming the inflammation and allowing protein synthesis, which is the process of actually building new muscle, to proceed without interference. After the age of 70, your body's natural antioxidant production drops by approximately 40%, so these external plant compounds become not just helpful, but genuinely essential. The practical guidance here is simple. 8 ounces of unsweetened tart cherry juice in the morning, and another 8 ounces within 30 minutes of any physical activity. Do not add sugar. If juice isn't appealing, concentrated tart cherry powder mixed into water achieves the same effect. And here's your synergy tip for this one. Pair your tart cherry with a small amount of healthy fat, like a teaspoon of olive oil or a few walnuts, because the anthocyanins are fat-soluble and absorb up to 60% more effectively when consumed alongside dietary fat. All references are linked in the description below. Number 4 on our list is one that I watched transform a patient of mine named Margaret, a 71-year-old retired school teacher from Boise, Idaho. Margaret came to me after her orthopedic surgeon told her that her muscle loss was so advanced she was at high risk for a hip fracture within 5 years. She was devastated. She told me she felt like her body had betrayed her. Within 8 months of changing one specific part of her diet, her muscle density scans improved so dramatically that her surgeon called her results, and I'm quoting here, medically unusual. That food was sardines. I know. I can already hear the groans. But stay with me, because sardines are perhaps the most complete muscle rebuilding food on the planet for adults over 60. And the reason comes down to 3 simultaneous mechanisms that almost no other single food provides. First, sardines are one of the richest dietary sources of omega-3 fatty acids on Earth, specifically EPA and DHA. A growing body of research, including a major study from the University of Stirling in Scotland involving adults aged 60 to 75, found that omega-3 supplementation increased the muscle protein synthesis response to exercise by up to 50%. That phrase, muscle protein synthesis, simply means the process by which your body actually builds new muscle fibers. After the age of 65, a condition called anabolic resistance sets in, meaning your muscles become progressively less responsive to the signals that tell them to grow. Omega-3 fatty acids directly counteract anabolic resistance by sensitizing muscle cells at the membrane level. Second, sardines are loaded with bioavailable calcium and vitamin D, both in a single tin. Vitamin D, which is deficient in an estimated 68% of adults over 70, isn't just a bone nutrient. Vitamin D receptors exist in every single muscle fiber in your body, and without adequate levels, those fibers cannot contract with full force or recover properly after use. Third, and this is the part most people don't know, sardines, particularly when eaten with the bones, provide a specific form of collagen protein that supports the connective tissue surrounding your muscles. Think of your muscles as cables, and the connective tissue as the rubber sheathing around those cables. The sheathing determines how efficiently the force generated inside the muscle actually translates into movement. Eat 3 to 4 tins of sardines per week, ideally packed in olive oil rather than water. Eat the bones. They're soft, they're safe, and they're where a significant portion of the calcium lives. Your synergy tip here is to pair sardines with leafy greens containing vitamin K2, such as spinach or kale, because K2 is the cofactor that directs calcium from your bloodstream directly into your bones and muscle tissue, rather than into your arterial walls where it causes harm. Number 3 is something I want you to write down right now, because this one genuinely changed my own daily routine after I reviewed the research. It's hemp seeds. And specifically hemp seeds consumed at a very precise time of day that almost nobody is doing correctly. Hemp seeds have been quietly accumulating one of the most impressive nutritional research profiles of the last decade. A single 3 tablespoon serving contains 10 grams of complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids, which is extraordinarily rare in the plant kingdom, along with an ideal 3-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, and something called gamma-linolenic acid, or GLA, which is a fatty acid with profound anti-inflammatory effects on aging muscle tissue. Here's the deeper science. Researchers at the University of Manitoba conducted a longitudinal study following adults over 65 for 2 years and found that those who added hemp seeds to their diet 3 times weekly showed measurably improved mitochondrial function in skeletal muscle. Mitochondria. Think of them as the tiny power plants inside each of your cells. Decline in both number and efficiency after the age of 60 at a rate of approximately 8 to 10% per decade. This mitochondrial decline is one of the primary biological reasons why seniors feel chronically fatigued and why muscle simply doesn't respond to exercise the way it once did. The GLA in hemp seeds has been shown to support mitochondrial membrane integrity, essentially keeping those power plants running more efficiently for longer. The timing component I mentioned is crucial, and most people miss it entirely. The anabolic window, the period during which your aging muscles are most receptive to nutritional input, is widest within 45 minutes of waking up and within 45 minutes of any physical activity. Consuming hemp seeds during these 2 windows rather than randomly throughout the day results in measurably greater amino acid uptake in seniors compared to identical consumption at other times. 3 tablespoons in the morning blended into a smoothie or sprinkled over yogurt. Your synergy tip for hemp seeds is to pair them with pineapple or kiwi, both of which contain proteolytic enzymes, natural protein digesting compounds that increase the bioavailability of hemp protein by up to 38% in adults over 65. That's a meaningful difference when you're working against anabolic resistance. I want to pause here for just a moment because if what you're hearing today is resonating with you, I want to ask you to do two things. First, hit that subscribe button below because every week I bring you research-backed strategies specifically for adults over 60. Not generic health advice, but science tailored to your physiology. Second, if you know someone, a spouse, a sibling, a friend who has been told they're just getting older and there's nothing they can do about their weakness or fatigue, please share this video with them right now. You might be giving them back something they thought was gone forever. Now let's get to number 2 and our extraordinary number 1. Number 2 is a food that has been on your radar your entire life, but almost certainly not for this reason, and almost certainly not in the form that actually works. It is cooked and cooled potatoes. And the specific transformation that happens to a potato's starch structure when it is cooked, refrigerated overnight, and then eaten cold or reheated gently is one of the most fascinating and underutilized tools in senior nutrition. Here's the science in plain language. When a potato is cooked and then cooled, a process called retrogradation occurs. The starch molecules reorganize themselves into a structure called resistant starch, and resistant starch behaves nothing like regular starch in your body. Rather than spiking your blood sugar and triggering the inflammatory insulin cascade that damages muscle tissue over time, resistant starch passes largely undigested into your large intestine, where it feeds specific strains of bacteria that produce something called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. Butyrate is remarkable. A study from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies found that butyrate directly stimulates the production of a compound called insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, which is the primary anabolic signal that tells your muscles to grow and maintain themselves. After the age of 70, natural IGF-1 production falls by approximately 60%. This is a catastrophic drop that accelerates muscle loss at precisely the age when muscle protection becomes most critical. Dietary butyrate production through resistant starch consumption is one of the few dietary levers that can meaningfully stimulate IGF-1 in aging adults without pharmacological intervention. A patient of mine, a 78-year-old man named Harold from Tucson, Arizona, came to me after 2 falls in the same year. He was using a walker, had lost over 20 pounds of lean mass over 5 years, and had told his daughter he felt like he was disappearing. We made a series of dietary changes, but the most consistent one Harold maintained was eating a small portion of cooked and cooled potato salad every single day. At his 18-month follow-up, his grip strength had improved by 22%, and his balance assessment scores had improved enough that his physical therapist cleared him to discontinue the walker for indoor movement. Make your potatoes the night before. Boil them with the skin on. The skin contains additional resistant fibers, refrigerate overnight, and consume them the following day. You can reheat them gently below 130 degrees Fahrenheit to preserve the resistant starch structure. Your synergy tip is to add a drizzle of apple cider vinegar to your cooled potatoes, as the acetic acid in vinegar has been shown to further slow starch digestion and amplify the butyrate-producing effect in the colon by an additional 24%. And now, number 1. The food I promised you at the beginning, the one that has been villainized, restricted, and pulled off the plates of seniors by well-meaning but incomplete medical guidance for the better part of 30 years. That food is whole eggs, and specifically the yolk that so many of you have been discarding. Let me be direct with you. The egg yolk restriction for seniors is not just outdated. According to the most current research, it may have been actively harmful. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, reviewing over 27 studies and nearly 300,000 participants, found no significant association between whole egg consumption and cardiovascular risk in healthy older adults. What it did find was that the nutrients concentrated specifically in the yolk are among the most powerful muscle-preserving compounds known to nutritional science. Here is what lives inside an egg yolk that you've been throwing away. Leucine, the single most potent trigger of muscle protein synthesis of any dietary amino acid, present in dramatically higher concentrations in whole eggs than in egg whites alone. Choline, a compound that 60% of adults over 70 are deficient in, which is essential for the neuromuscular junction, meaning the communication pathway between your nervous system and your muscle fibers. Without adequate choline, your muscles literally cannot receive the signals telling them to contract with full force. Vitamin B12 in its most bioavailable dietary form, which is critical because B12 absorption drops by up to 40% after age 60 due to declining stomach acid production. Research from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign compared older adults who consumed whole eggs after resistance exercise versus those who consumed only egg whites, providing the equivalent amount of protein. The whole egg group showed 40% greater muscle protein synthesis despite consuming the same quantity of protein. 40% greater. The researchers concluded that the non-protein components of the yolk, the fat, the micronutrients, the choline, created a metabolic environment that amplified the muscle-building response far beyond what protein alone could explain. A patient named Gloria, 74 years old, from Charleston, South Carolina, had avoided egg yolks for over 20 years on her previous doctor's advice. Gloria was experiencing what she described as invisible weakness. She looked healthy but felt exhausted and unsteady. When we reintroduced 2 to 3 whole eggs into her daily breakfast and paired them with a light morning walk, her B12 levels normalized within 3 months, her neurological function scores improved markedly, and she told me at her 6-month visit that she had gone back to her weekly line dancing class for the first time in 4 years. She was crying when she told me. I was too. 2 to 3 whole eggs per day, preferably in the morning during that anabolic window I mentioned earlier. Soft scrambled or poached preserves more of the heat-sensitive nutrients than hard-boiled. Your synergy tip for eggs is to eat them alongside a source of vitamin C, tomatoes, bell peppers, or citrus, because vitamin C is the cofactor for carnitine synthesis, and carnitine is the transporter molecule that shuttles fatty acids into your mitochondria for energy. Together, eggs and vitamin C create a 1-2 metabolic punch that separately they simply cannot deliver. Now let me leave you with something that goes beyond nutrition science, because I've spent decades sitting across from patients who have been told in one way or another that the best years for their body are behind them. And I want to look you in the eye through this screen and tell you that is not true. The research does not support that conclusion. Your biology is not a one-way door. The independence you want, to live in your own home, to walk without fear, to play on the floor with your grandchildren, to travel, to dance, to carry your own groceries, that independence is not a gift that life either gives or takes. It is built meal by meal, day by day, with the information and the intention to use your body's still remarkable capacity for renewal. At 65, at 75, at 85, the science consistently shows that your muscles retain the ability to respond, to strengthen, and to grow. The door is not closed. For many of you watching right now, it hasn't even been opened yet. And the foods I've shared with you today, tart cherry juice, sardines, hemp seeds, cooked and cooled potatoes, and the whole egg with its extraordinary yolk are 5 keys that research has shown again and again can help you open it. It is never too late. I have seen it too many times to believe otherwise. If today's video gave you something to think about, something to try, or something to share, please hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell so you never miss what we put out each week. Every video is built specifically for you, for your physiology, your goals, and your life stage. And before you go, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Of the 5 foods we talked about today, which one surprised you the most? And which one are you going to try first? Leave your answer below, and don't forget to tell me your age. I read every comment, and your response might just shape the next video I make. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.